do Running the Toast at the house that we're going to move into, so all of our waifus are on that shelf.
All right.
We just make it a bi-weekly episode.
I'm not bi, dude.
Fuck off.
I have a confession I have to make when the podcast starts. I'm sorry.
Well, we're not starting the podcast then, so you have to just bury it deep.
No!
It is the SuperClash podcast, a podcast about shorter games. It is episode 82.
Yep, you almost messed it up.
I almost did. Even though I literally said it right before we started recording. What episode is this? But it is episode 82, and I'm your host, Kale.
I am Connor.
And Connor, you said you were going to have a confession.
My confession is this. I didn't finish the game for this week. But
I know that.
But there's more to the confession. I've been really in a rut lately, so I abandoned that game in favor of Stardew Valley.
Okay.
So I put like 20 hours into Stardew Valley.
No, dude, it's totally fine.
I played Stardew Valley
Everyone
instead.
needs like their feel-good game.
It's been a rough week, okay?
Yeah, because you're planning to. I think it's next week that you're going to Disney World
On a trip in my favorite rocket ship.
but yeah, you were telling me all week that all this work that you have to do before you leave, and on top of that, you had a mouse in your fucking office.
I had to tear the whole friggin' office apart. It's been a hard time. Literally, after work, I've told my wife, like, I'm going to eat, and then I'm going to go lay down in bed. And that's what I've done every single day.
Was that the same night you sent me a picture of your chicken, green beans, and mashed potatoes, or was that the night before?
It's been every night this week, so yeah, probably that night too.
Man.
I've been a little sad boy, so I just go into my little room, and I just play Stardew Valley on the Steam Deck.
Oh, yeah. I almost died earlier this week.
Oh, you did? Wow. Well, that's a pivot. Go ahead.
Well, okay, so I was at my work, and we were throwing away a whole bunch of holiday stuff, and the point of sale guy, he was kind of stacking things up in order to get loaded on into a truck to go to the dump.
Mm-hmm.
Well, for some reason, when he stacked these tall boxes, they were probably like 5.5, 6 feet high. He was stacking them on top of each other. Well, the second to last one, he was backing in to set one more on top of another one, and he like misread how low he was going, and the box bends. The box that he was carrying slides off as I was walking past that. I look up and I dodge out of the way as this box falls, and plastic cups go everywhere.
Oh, jeez.
And the thing is, there was no camera at that angle. And there was one camera, but you can only kind of see it in the corner.
Mm-hmm.
And the camera made it look a lot worse than it was. I mean, I think if that box hit me, it probably wouldn't have hurt me. What concerned me more was the pallet fell too. Like that big ass wooden pallet.
You could have been slightly maimed.
Yeah, I probably would have gotten workers' comp.
Well, all right.
which in hindsight, like,
jump in front of it like an insurance fraud
I need a
thing.
break, please. But I also kind of got that wish because Thursday, there was only gonna be like one truck.
Mm-hmm.
And so I got called into my manager's office, and he said, well, there's only going to be one truck on Thursday, so just stay home.
Okay.
So I stayed home on Thursday.
Did you still get paid?
No, unfortunately.
Oh, that's sad.
But I had coffee with my wife, which felt so nice to be able to sit down, have coffee with her before she left for work. And then I played Trigger Witch all day.
Did you get rid of your Christmas tree?
I did.
You didn't even swing by to say hi to me, even though it was right by my house.
You were probably working, dude.
You abandoned me in my time of need.
Don't gaslight me, fucker.
You know, I could have used a friend this week, and you weren't there for me. I want you to feel bad about your day off.
No, I don't feel bad about my day off.
Okay.
Not one fucking bit.
All right.
Because I played Trigger Witch, I met my wife for lunch, I had Panda Express.
You, the Taco Bell of Chinese food.
Well, yes, but every once in a while you need shitty food to fill the hole in your heart.
Oh, I'm not going to lie. Okay, so here's the deal. So I haven't been eating a lot this week, but I sort of also have been. So, like, the entire day, like, I've just been busy with work, so I literally have eaten, like, a bag of chips and then, like, just been shotgunning coffee all day.
I can see the bags of chips over there.
And the cups for coffee as well. And so I'll eat dinner when my wife gets home. But then, because I really hadn't eaten much all day, by about, like, 9 to 10:30 at night, I'd get hungry again. And so there was a couple times I definitely DoorDashed some fast food late at night like that. I made some choices this week, okay?
Stress, man.
I was stress eating at night.
Trust me, like, my wife and I have been looking for a house for ever since December. And we've looked at, like, total fit about 15 houses. And we made an offer on 3 of them. And 2 of the 3 have fallen through, and we're still waiting on that 3rd one. And just that negativity of, like, is this going to go through? And feeling like, can we even make it work?
Well, my wife and I were talking about that, too, about your situation. And it's like, it's so different from when we were buying houses. Like, we would make an offer, and we would get an answer within an hour or 2. On it. And like every single time you've made an offer, it has taken considerable amount of time to get an answer out of them.
Yeah.
I don't understand it.
I don't know.
What are they doing? Just like, just thinking about it all day?
Especially since the recent house we made an offer on is off market according to Zillow and say for sale by owner. So I don't know.
There's no urgency to sell it. I don't know.
Hopefully, at the time of this recording, it'll go either direction. Either we get the house or we don't get the house. It's just, I hate the anticipation.
Oh, I know. It's anxiety inducing.
But like,
awful.
it's one of those things where, how can I say this? It's one of those things where, like, I can't help but have those negative thoughts or even fatigue. Where if this is the house, if this house falls through as well, if I'll just be so fatigued.
Yeah.
Like, I can't help but have those intrusive thoughts where, am I even meant to have a house? Or am I just meant to jump from apartment to apartment, to duplex, just because of how shitty the housing market is?
I don't think you can be too discouraged. Like, even when the housing market wasn't as bad as it was now, we would still get turned down on offers and stuff too. And even we made reasonable offers at those times. It's just sometimes you get these sellers who think they have this absolute gem and they're gonna get so much money for it. Right?
Oh my god! Like the house 2 towns over. Like, oh my god, what is up with that dude?
That dude's insane.
Okay. My wife and I made an offer on a house about 2 towns east, and it seemed to check all of our boxes. It had a fenced backyard, a sizable fenced backyard, 2-car garage. It had a basement. It only had 1 bathroom, but it had plenty of room and a good kitchen and everything. And it was a little bit over what our cap was at $188. And our first realtor agreed that it was a little bit overpriced, so we offered $165. And our realtor said, "Yeah, the dude seemed flexible, so we'll see how this works." So we filled out all the paperwork.
And didn't he say he was open to negotiate?
Yes, he was.
Yeah.
What he meant in reality was I'm flexible. And by flexible, I mean I am flexible to go $1,000 under the asking price. So instead of
That's not flexible.
No. So instead of $188, he was willing to go to $187. And my wife and I said, "No, fuck that shit. We're walking away." And just as out of curiosity, I kind of kept that house on my listing, my favorites on my app just to kind of watch it. He went from 188 to taking it off the market, putting it up for rent for $13.50 a month, taking it off of that, and then dropping it to $13.25, only to pull it off again, put it back on the market for $220,000, and made it very, very clear that it was officially appraised.
Oh my god!
And then he dropped it down again to 195, but it brought it back up to 220, down to 195, and now it's back to 188.
This dude is insane, and I swear to you, I think when you placed the first offer, one of the reasons he didn't want to accept it was because he had another offer on it, right?
Right.
And so it was. I think I remember looking and it said pending on there. So somehow I'm thinking probably this person's fault. That sale fell through. I wonder if he like backed out on the sale and was just like, "No, I want more money." Like
maybe like I almost like I had this thought in my head too, where what if he's playing the system to where he keeps switching the prices over in order to like get people's FOMO to like trigger. It's like, oh, I it's gonna go back up if I don't get this at 188.
Yeah, he's a fucking loon, man. Like,
and here's the thing, this house, like the house checked all our boxes except cosmetically, it was ran by a landlord and it showed like paint, like the trim was poorly painted, all that shit. There was no appliances. And like, why? And not only that, the place where the dishwasher was, there was no plug-in for the dishwasher, so you would have to reroute outlet under the sink in order to get the dishwasher working.
Yeah, and
there was some work that needed to be done.
And to be completely transparent, like that house wasn't huge either.
No. For
the square footage you got, that house I think would have been top dollar around 170, 175.
Right.
And that's top dollar.
And that's the offer we made on this current house. It's like I think it was a 3-bedroom, 1 bath with a basement and 2-car garage.
And before, anybody's thinking to themselves, man, how do you get a house this cheap? That's just what property values are here right now, right?
In Missouri.
And so when we're telling you, like, it's not worth that, it really isn't worth that. Like, a good rule of thumb that I found was, so we bought our house, I won't say for how much, but ours was fully renovated, fully remodeled, and we looked at the pictures of what it looked like before. It looked a lot different. And it was $145 per square foot. And a lot of these houses we were looking at, they're wanting like $200 per square foot.
Right.
And for houses that have not been remodeled. And it's like, what are you doing? No, that's not how much this house is worth. It's just greed. It's greed.
It is.
People, it's like, here's a good example. It's like the Pokemon card market. There was a long period of time where mint condition cards were going for high amounts of money, right? Mint condition. And then some people went online, they saw those numbers, they dug up some old beat-up cards out of a binder that they played with as a kid.
Oh my god, I know where you're going with this.
And then they're like, well, I know what I've got. It's worth this. See? Look at how much these other ones are going for. And people are doing that with fucking houses now. Because you have unintelligent people who are like, yep, that's what they're worth now.
They want their money now without putting the work into it.
Yeah, they don't want to fix them up,
At the very least, the house this is gonna be one more comment before we move on to our game. At the very least, the people who are living in this house that they're selling, they made sure all the outlets were grounded.
Mm-hmm.
They got new appliances. So this one had a brand new gas stove.
Mm-hmm.
It's about 6 months old. They had a dishwasher that was about a year old.
Mm-hmm.
The roof was redone in 2016, so it's under 10 years old.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, there's some value in that house.
Yeah. We put more effort into our house when we sold our last one.
Exactly.
We put a new roof. We grounded outlets. We remodeled the kitchen. We replaced all the flooring. And we earned the profit that we made off that house. We put equity into it. These people don't want to do that.
No, it's annoying, especially for my wife and I, who are really looking for a home that we can call ours.
Mm-hmm.
It fucking sucks.
And I think it would be totally fair if you got a house that, like, maybe it hasn't been remodeled, but they're willing to, like, understandably price the house. But it seems like you have no in between.
No.
You have these way overpriced places or these complete, like, shitholes, basically.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and
We've seen some shitholes.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Some shitholes.
That people want still money. Like, what would be a reasonable price for a house in good condition, they want for a house that needs $50,000 worth of work.
Yes. It's awful.
It's crazy.
But I'll tell you what's not awful.
Me?
Trigger Witch.
Oh, yeah, it's not. It's good.
It's a very good game. So, Trigger Witch, which is a top-down twin-stick shooter developed by Rainbite and released in 2021. You can generally beat this in about 8 hours, and you can get this for all platforms.
Mm-hmm.
And Connor, you were the one that kind of exposed me to this game, and the whole concept of this is guns came through a portal to this world.
This fantasy world.
And witches just started using them, and they got good at it.
And they abandoned their magic.
Exactly. And create a new religion called ballisticism.
Ballisticism.
Thank you. that was really hard to say.
Yeah. It's not a real word, so that's
why.
No,
it's also not a very well, I don't know. But you play as Colette, who graduated from the School of Witchcraft and Trickery and is tasked to investigate a mysterious man who came through the portal.
Yes.
So when you pitched me this game, I was already in for it because it was again, twin-stick shooters. I've made it very clear on the show several times that I love twin-stick shooters.
When they're done right.
When they're done right. Because they're, no matter what, they're always fast-paced and just so much fun.
Oh, yeah.
And they're easy to pick up.
This is definitely not an exception to that rule. It's a good one.
It's a good one. And what makes this interesting, too, is that it kind of takes elements of the original, like, Legend of Zelda games in a way to where, like, the world is pretty open. Mm-hmm. It's pretty open world. And you can choose which task you want to do first, and you're not limited by your level.
Yeah, it has a story that's fairly linear, but you can approach it in different ways, mm-hmm. essentially.
And the one thing that really stuck out to me when I started playing this game was so much blood.
Oh yeah, and it's coming. I think the funny part is it's coming from these little cute, like little sprite creatures, these little magical mm-hmm. creatures.
You hit them with your hand cannon, which is the first gun that you get. It's just blood everywhere.
You almost feel like a bad guy.
You do, but it's still so much fun. Just being able to approach a situation and have all these magical creatures come at you, and you literally blow them away. And by the time you're done, the entire screen is just covered with blood.
Oh yeah, it's messed up, but it's so fun at the same time.
And I want to dive a bit more into how this game loop works here. Other than like killing thousands of these cute little creatures, every kill that you make, you collect gems, mm-hmm. and the gems are your currency. You don't lose them at death. This is not Dark Souls or any kind of Souls game, but you do purchase it, or I'm sorry, you do use them to purchase like health upgrades, maps, and weapon upgrades.
And it's pretty generous with them too.
Oh, it's very generous.
And one thing I've noticed about those gems is, so like if you're in a section of the map and you clear all the enemies, all the gems that you maybe didn't pick up will suddenly just like attract to you.
And which is great because in some later levels to where they're on different heights,
mm-hmm.
It's hard to get to.
Yeah, or if they get behind like an obstacle or something,
right?
They popped off of one of them or
mm-hmm.
something. Yeah.
But every single one of these weapons, they feel good and they sound good, mm-hmm. especially for a pixelated game to where the guns purposely they don't sound realistic, but they sound loud.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't think they should sound realistic. It's a pixelated game. Like it's very reminiscent of like the SNES era. You know?
Yeah. I was thinking more like Smash TV
Mm-hmm.
and like again Legend of Zelda. I have to say, what was your favorite weapon for this?
Ooh, that was a tough one. I think I rocked the Uzis a lot. What I ended up doing, actually, I like the shotgun too. But
to tell you the truth, I missed the shotgun.
you missed it?
Yeah, I know it was in like one of the final areas to pick up, but I just didn't navigate my way over there before like the whole thing started collapsing.
If you time it just right with the guns, so when you run out of the guns, it will by default bring you back to your other gun. What you could do is, I was pretty good at knowing how many bullets I had left, so I'd fire as much as I could from my Uzis, and right before it clicked over because it was an empty gun, I just switched to my shotgun. Pop, 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 pop. By the time that I used up all the shotgun, my Uzis were reloaded because the guns don't reload in the conventional way.
They recharge.
Yes, they all. You can't. Like, if I shot everything out of my shotgun, I can't just instantly reload it. I have to wait a little bit for it to reload on its own. The exception is your hand cannon.
Yeah.
That one you can reload manually.
And reload time is one of those to where you can upgrade.
Yeah.
I did miss one little detail when it comes to weapon upgrades. You do need to find an item in order to unlock a weapon upgrade. They're very frequent. I think there's like 36 in all, and you'll find them either naturally or if you just explore the world. And they really do make a big difference. There's magazine capacity, rate of fire, damage, and then reload time. But
which gun did you focus on upgrading the most?
I mostly focused on the AK-47.
Okay.
And the flamethrower.
Flamethrower could be fun,
too. Dude, the flamethrower was my go-to oh shit weapon.
Yeah.
Because there are moments in this game where you get surrounded, and the flamethrower is perfect for crowd control.
It really is. It's the only weapon that'll affect the ice creatures, as I recall.
Yes.
Which was frustrating because up until you unlock it, you can't actually clear all the enemies in certain areas.
Right, yeah.
But it is what it is. I focused on maxing out my hand cannon. I maxed it out.
I maxed that one out too, just because that's your default weapon.
Yeah, and I didn't want when the shit hit the fan and I've lost all my other guns. I wanted something to use.
Yeah, but everything about this game, I don't have a lot of complaints about this game really, other than one of the last areas is floating in the air. And if you just have one little teeny tiny pixel that's off the ledge, your character falls off the ledge. And that was very rough.
I'd say the only gameplay critique I had was there's those sections where you're on a broom and it becomes a shmup, basically.
Yeah.
I didn't really like those sections that much.
I was agnostic to it. Like there were times where I appreciated what they were going for. Especially since Trigger Witch is already kind of an arcadey shooter, so they kind of dip their toe in the shoot 'em up genre a little bit. But regardless, they weren't my favorite moments.
Yeah, I didn't really like those. What did you think of the difficulty of this game?
I thought the difficulty was really friendly. I think I did like one ping below normal, but not quite easy. Okay. Because in this game, you can choose your difficulty level. It's a slider. It's not necessarily easy, medium, hard. And the difficulty would determine how much gems that you get.
I think I played on normal, whatever the default was. I just left it. I normally try to do that. And I didn't die. I don't think I died at all. I think I got really close a couple times. Especially with that final boss.
I am split with the spoilers, but I'm leaning towards no.
Yeah, no, I was kind of thinking that too. This game, if you're gonna play it, avoid the spoilers at all costs. Learn
At
nothing about
all
this game.
costs.
I went in blind. I think you went in mostly blind.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. You built up that the twist really threw you off.
Mm-hmm.
And as I was playing through the game and getting near the end, I was thinking, okay, is the man in black my father or something, or is my mother behind the whole thing the entire time? Is there something going on? I'll say right now, it's not.
It goes in a direction that I don't think many people, when they first start the game, would think it's going to go in.
But, and see, that's and the reason is like, hi Kitty.
Oh, hey. She must have been under the couch the
Yeah.
whole time. There's a cat that arrived. Hello.
But, okay, I'll quit stalling. Any other game, the twist would have been really stupid. Like, oh, is that the direction it was going?
Mm-hmm.
But the game already presented itself as a very lighthearted, tongue-in-cheek tone, and when the twist came, I was like, of course.
Yeah. I remember, I think I was playing the finale of that game, and my wife was sitting next to me on the couch, and I just remember looking over and being like, what, like, because you're just like, this game, I'm not going to say anything to avoid it, but it kind of sort of changed genres in a way,
It did.
You're just like, wait a minute, and then it like really affected the ending of the game in a kind of a weird, but I liked it. I liked the ending.
Yes.
And
what's nice about the ending is that once the credits roll, you're sent back into the world to where you can kind of do cleanup if you want to.
Yeah, you can
or you can go right into New Game Plus and replay the game with all your upgrades, which I am so glad they gave you the option to do that.
Yeah. I think it's interesting, though, because you could go around after the finale of the game, and if you continued your game, you could go talk to these different characters in the town and kind of get bits and pieces of their sides of the story, like what their perspective of how the game ended for you was, right?
Yes.
And so that part was really cool. And so, like, for me, this game was a surprise hit.
It was. And I almost feel bad because perceptive listeners would see that I added this to one of my top games of 2022. It was like number 3.
Mm-hmm.
I almost wish I would have saved it for this because I don't want to sound redundant, but this is already probably going to be on my list for a favorite of 2023 purely because I actually finished it this year.
Yeah.
I almost feel like it wasn't fair for me to put a game in my top of 2022 without actually finishing it.
Yeah, I could see that. I mean, on the same point, though, it could stay on a joint list for sure because I beat it last year and then you beat it this year. So
right,
and I'm talking about it now with you, so that's technically also cheating. So
true.
I mean, granted, I didn't beat it that long ago. I beat it like a month ago, I think.
Yeah, but this is I would recommend this to anyone who just loves shooters or twin stick shooters or anyone looking for like a not so serious, not very difficult game.
And the characters are cute and charming.
They are.
Their interactions are kind of quirky. The art style is adorable. It's very reminiscent of like a I'm trying to think of what genre I want to call this, but like an older fantasy game, like a Legend of Zelda is a good reference.
Yeah, I referenced that earlier.
It looks a lot like that kind of world. I think it's a lot of fun to hear if you play it on the PS5. I don't know about other platforms. You can hear the guns reloading in the controller.
Oh, that's cool. I played it on Switch.
Yeah. I don't know if it does that with like PS4 or any other platforms, but yeah, you can hear it reload on the controller.
That's really cool.
Just kind of fun.
Nice little detail.
You can also turn on some performance modes on the PlayStation where...
Interesting.
Yeah, you can, I want to say, turn on HDR and a few other things with it. Like
I need to see this just to compare.
I think there's like a 120 hertz mode or something like that.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Which as fast paced as this game is, 120 hertz mode would be perfect.
Yeah, it's a
like,
lot of fun.
And which part of me kind of wishes now I could have played this on PS5, but you let me borrow a copy, so I wasn't gonna complain.
Yeah, because at the time I was still playing the PS5 version when I lent you the copy.
Do you have the physical for PS5?
I do.
Cool. But when I was playing in the arena, because this game kind of has an endless horde mode in the arena to where you can get a whole bunch of gems. So if you're ever short on gems, just go to the arena. It's in the second half of the game.
Yeah.
I started experiencing some slowdown as more and more enemies were coming on the screen. Not horrible to the point where it was unplayable, but I did notice some frame rate drops on the Switch.
See, I didn't have that happen on the PlayStation, so that might just be a power difference.
Power thing.
Though it doesn't make a ton of sense because the Switch should be able to handle a pixelated game, you would think.
You would think.
Sometimes, I'll say this as a generality, sometimes it seems like Switch ports, it's a developmental issue and not a performance of the console issue. Like, I feel like we've played some games on it that are pretty low res. Like, you'd probably see them played on like a PS2 or you know, but they'll still have issues, and it's like I don't understand why it's like this. But meh, it is what it is.
But one more comment about Trigger Witch.
Okay.
Before we either wrap up or just kind of figure out the music.
Oh yeah.
Music was so good. I liked how you kind of had like two modes of the music, to where you kind of had a nice soft somber version of a song, and then one more intense of the same song.
The music was very reminiscent of like Cadence of Hyrule, actually.
Yeah, it was.
And I have the physical CD of that too.
Cadence of Hyrule or Trigger Witch?
Trigger Witch.
There was one song I liked, and that was during like the castle in the like the last part of the game. Not the twist castle, but the floating castle, to where like I have the guitar. Like that was my favorite track.
It's a good album. I've listened to it a few times. I think I have it on Plex as well. I uploaded it onto it.
Yes.
I think it's on there. Yes, Queen Slay. So what would you give this game?
Oh, 9.
9? Really?
Absolutely.
All right. Yeah, I'd put it up there pretty high. Like for me, probably like an 8.5.
Okay.
Just because while I enjoyed it, I think it didn't. I don't know. It didn't hit the same level of hardness I think it did it for you. You know, but that's fine. You know, that's just personal preference at that point.
Right.
But I will say, if you want to know, I've been playing Stardew Valley instead of my game that I mentioned. I was going to play Iris Fall, but my brain was not mentally prepared for a puzzle game this week after everything that I was dealing with at work.
I remember you talking about that last week now, but like black and white Rubik's Cube, like what?
It's a fun game so far, I'll say that. And I do think that on a future podcast, I'll talk about it. Maybe our next one, maybe not. But instead, I've been playing Stardew Valley because it's a little bit more of a turn off the brain kind of game. And once I get further in that game, I do want to share my thoughts on it, even though it's technically like a 52-hour game to beat. And I'm like 20 hours in. But that's kind of probably for a future video.
Right.
But I do think we need to address the elephant in the room. That
You mean kitty?
No, not the kitty. I mean, she's gray like an elephant, but she's not the... Anyway, the elephant in the room is, we mentioned I'm going out of town, which means for the podcast, we won't have one for a couple weeks.
Yes.
So just keep that in mind. If you think we've dropped off the face of the earth, it's because I wasn't here to record.
Yeah, and I know it seems like we've been doing that a lot. Like we took like a 3 weeks off because of weather and everything, and then just life happens, man.
Can't be helped, you know. People get sick, people go on trips, you know.
And honestly, like if man, I'm gonna be I'm gonna be Mr. Dreamy here. if this was a full-time job, it would really be no issue because we can record like an episode or two ahead of time, and then we can edit it and be fine. But
because we wouldn't have to focus on work other than this being work. You know? So
maybe someday.
Maybe someday.
Maybe someday. And that's only if you guys like and subscribe. Or if you don't like the show, tell your friends. Maybe they'll like it and help us out a little bit. There's also some merch that will be in the description that will kind of help us go towards the right direction to maybe do this full time.
Plus, it's cool merch. I mean, it's not like a shameless cash grab. We actually had artists commissioned to do it.
Yeah.
And the hoodies, especially the tie-dye ones, are awesome.
Mm-hmm.
They're really great, and all the hats are embroidered. They're not just printed on.
Yes. So. And who knows if we get enough traction with this, pitch. Maybe we'll do a Patreon.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
It would, but that's only if you guys like and subscribe to the show.
Yes.
That pretty much do it for us. Thank you so much for listening, and we will see you next time.
Bye-bye.